So our next speaker is Amparo Domingo. She is the Women's Declaration International Country Contact for Spain. She's also a sometime Feminist Question Time host and is going to host the webinar next week, which is fantastic. And her talk is an update on Spain. So thank you so much, Amparo, and over to you.
We have some weird things happening here as well as they are happening all over the world. So I distributed the information because it's crazy. Every week every week we got different news, sometimes better, sometimes worse, more often worse than not. So I did sort of distribution in sections for you to have a better, a more clear understanding of what's going on. So these are the official news in the past weeks. You're going to see that we're not getting any idle moment here in Spain. Last time I was here, that was July. I think I was telling you that we just had general elections. So it has taken a while to form government because of the Spanish politics. I'm not going to tell you about that. So the ministers for every department were just appointed around December. And at the end of the year, the director generals or secretaries of state were appointed after the ministers were named. Last legislature, we had the woke party in charge of the equality department. But in this legislature, because of the horrible things that the woke did, the Socialist Party, they have retained the control of the equality ministry. So everyone working there, I mean, not the civil servants, but the as I say, the ministry, the Secretary of State, or maybe Director Generals, they are from the Socialist Party. So they did appoint this woman, the woman that you see at the middle of the slide. Her name is Isabel Garcia. She is a lesbian, and because she is a lesbian and she defines herself as a female, a homosexual female, she knows what sex she is, and she knows that there are two sexes. She had been critical of one of the very few socialists that had been critical of the trans law when it was being processed at our parliament. So when she was appointed director for the Women's Institute, trans activists went absolutely mad, absolutely nuts, and they had been harassing her ever since. So she is a lesbian woman. She's a part of the LGBTIQ group. She should be part of the L, of course, but because she as I said, she knows what sex she is and her partner. They are claiming that she's a horrible transphobe. There was a Twitter storm and a Twitter pile on her so hard that in less than 48 hours, that was late December, she apologized for everything she had said before on trans law, which was a bitter disappointment for feminists, because we thought that really we would have a different tone in this legislature. So she did apologize, but even though she apologized, they are still claiming that she's the most horrible person on earth, and that she should resign. And they are asking for the head every day. And here we have at the right of the slide, this is the head, the visible head at least, of the woke party. They are absolutely irrelevant. No one wants them anywhere. The right parties do not like them. The left-wing parties do not like them. But this tweet from Ione Belarra, as I said, the head of the woke party, you have it translated here. She says, "Transphobia is not an opinion, it is a hate crime. Today, I made it clear to the Minister for Equality that she must dismiss the director of the Women's Institute." And I want you to have a good look at this picture, because later on it will appear again. You see the scarf and all that, so you can see this is Isabel. Next slide. I'm going to take a minute for you to really understand the situation we have here in Spain. This is a demonstration. There were not so many people. This was a demonstration at the gates of the Ministry for Equality of trans activists demanding the head of Isabel Garcia 10 days after her appointment, because they cannot let it go. They have to have her removed from government. And this, please follow me with this. This is a very prominent trans activist here in Spain. His name is Marc Ambroyer. Mar is a female name. He's a man who claims to be a woman, and he says that it is a hate crime to call him a man because he feels like he's a woman. In his, he was interviewed. You can see here all the microphones of the media that was there to listen from him. What was the reason of the demonstration and all that. And he was saying that, well, he was there to hand over, as you have here. They handed to the ministry, they actually handed 5,000 signatures supporting the demand to the dismissal of Isabel, whom you just saw. So this snapshot at 29 seconds of this short video, Marc Ambroyer refers to Isabel Garcia as that gentleman. I don't know whether I'm making myself clear. They want to make a hate crime, so-called misgendering. So we cannot say that this man is a man, but he calls a man, he calls a lesbian a man because she has short hair. But that is not a crime, that is not hate crime, that is, I don't know, freedom of expression. So really, this is the state of Spanish politics here. As someone is saying, you can make it up. Really, this is the expression, you can make this up, was created for this. So here we are. Not only they handed over 5,000 signatures to the Ministry of Equality, so they would be really forced to sack Isabel Garcia. They filed a complaint at the Supreme Court. No one has ever done that I know of. Here in Valencia, where I live, we have the far-right party ruling because they were elected. They are in coalition with another right-wing party, not as extreme as the first one. There's a former toreador, head of the regional department of culture, and the party he belongs to, they deny that there's male violence against women, and they are in power because they were appointed as a part of the democratic process. And so they have made a complaint to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, instead of laughing out loud, they have accepted the claim, and they have asked, you have here the translation of the headline. This is an actual headline. This is a snapshot of an actual headline. You have here the link, the URL. So the Supreme Court asked the Ministry of Equality for the file on the designation of Isabel Garcia. The Supreme Court has admitted the appeal lodged by transgender groups who think that that appointment violates the dignity and rights. And I just remember you that she's a lesbian woman. And I told you that you should have a look at the picture. This poster that they are holding at the demonstration in front of the ministry, this is the previous picture. This is the picture of Isabel. You can see the red cross over her face. They really want her removed, and they cannot stand the sight of her because she knows what a woman is. So this is the minister, the new minister for equality. And because of the things that have been going on in the Spanish politics, as you have seen, she's very, very entertained. Some days ago, as you see, the date is January 25th. This is very recent. All of this is very recent. It all happened in January, end of December or January. Some days ago, she just announced that they will work to achieve the complete eradication of so-called conversion therapies, which are not an issue in Spain, because many years ago, when we had the Francoist dictatorship, the laws were very homophobic. The society was very homophobic because the Catholic Church was very hard on homosexual people. But Spain is one of the very tolerant countries. We were early adopters of gay marriage. I know that Sheila and others are against marriage in general, but what I mean is that gay people, they have equal rights in Spain, even they are fully capable of adopting kids. They do have same rights as any straight person here in this country. There's nothing that any person for being gay, they are excluded from. Aside from this ban on so-called conversion therapies, which we don't know what it is, of course, transgenderism is gay and lesbian conversion therapy, as we all know. They also announced that the employment rate of trans people is 80%. We don't know where those figures came from. And they say that they will create a specific plan for the integration of trans people into the labor market. And I just remember again, this is the Ministry for Equality, and we have a terrible situation here in Spain with sexual violence and murder of women by their husbands or former partners. It's really very tough, but here she is really paying attention to what's important in their agenda. This is some news that the last time I was here, I didn't, I hadn't seen at that time. I think I saw that later, or I don't know, I missed it somehow. So this happened in May, and this happened in Andalusia, a very large region at the south of Spain, where a German citizen, here you have the picture, this is how he presents. He is a German citizen living in Spain because we are part of the European Union, so he can live here legally, perfectly. He was registered as a woman for social security purposes and IRS purposes, and he was very annoyed because in his passport he has an X mark, like he's non-binary or undefined. So he was very upset that he was called a woman by Spanish administration. So he sued the administration. There was a process that took 4 years. I guess there were appeals at some parts of the process. I haven't read the whole history because it's not available. So it ended up in the High Court of Andalusia, and the High Court of Andalusia ruled that because he has the undefined gender mark in his passport, he had the right to have that in Spain as well. So this opened the door to having a marker that is either male nor female. This is a novelty in Spanish legislation, in Spanish administration. There had never been anything like that. This is really novel because there's no gender mark. We only have sex in our IDs, in our in every document we have. So after this ruling that was in May, I saw this news because now in January, the Central Registry of Foreigners, and this is a nationwide organism, an organ. They depend on the Homeland Ministry. They have established a third box called undefined for every foreigner that have the undefined marker in their passport. So that ruling that happened half a year ago in Andalusia has already spread to the Central Registry of Foreigners, that they have the registry of every foreign people living in Spain. So now we're going to have a gender marker, non-binary gender marker for at least the foreign people. It's still illegal for Spanish, but this is the direction trans activists want to go, and they are opening the gates at this level to normalize the situation. In the regions, the things are also getting very interesting. In Madrid, there were changes in the legislation they had, because in Spain, we have a system like in Scotland, or the Länder in Germany, or the states in the United States. So there are regions, or we call them autonomous communities, with same region or state, or how you want to call it. So we have devolved matters and reserved matters for the state, and almost every region have their own trans law. And the Madrid law, they had self-ID, but just for the devolved matters as health and education. And because now there's a right-wing party, they have restricted the conditions. So they have eliminated the concept gender identity in Madrid law, only for the region of Madrid. They have gone back to a language more in the medical field. They talk about transsexual people, or they talk about having psychotherapy sessions with patients, and having assessments by specialists and all that. So the trans activists are furious. Feminists think this is a very mild change, and more changes should have been introduced to really restrict, of course, much more any transition, because, as you know, the vast majority of people that are demanding those services are young, troubled women. But at least there's some how to say, they are gatekeeping. I don't know how to express this, because I might lack the technical legal term, but it's at least some way of narrowing down the amount of people that goes through this process. Also, they did forbid that activists went into school, could go into schools to give workshops about sexuality or gender or whatever. Only specialist people, only professional people like nurses or doctors or social workers are going to be allowed to address children in classrooms, in these schools, which is a very sensible thing to do. Before that, it was the trans activists, anyone sent by the local Stonewall, so to say, we're going into the schools to tell the children that there are as many genders as they want, and all that. And as I said, this happened because Madrid has a very conservative party ruling the region. But Catalonia, they have a coalition and mostly left, and they are going into the opposite direction because they are enhancing the current trans bill they have. And as you see, they write trans with the asterisk. That means it is an open term. It's open, it's wide, it's infinite. So it is now in, they have opened a consultation for the public. We still have a week to send our submission. We're going to do something about this because, of course, we oppose this idea that there is gender identity innate in every person. And I haven't been able to fully read the text, the actual text, but it's full with woke lingo like non-binary. They talk about transphobia, intersex phobia, conversion therapies. They talk about trans people with gestating capabilities, which are women, but they don't want to be called as women. So really, this is quite tough. But the many people is aware of this consultation, and I hope they will get many submissions. This I haven't been able to read either because this was announced two or 3 days ago, and I haven't been able not even to locate the file with the actual text. But this news is from this very week in the Basque Country, which are also very, very woke. It happens, as you might have noticed, Catalonia and Basque Country are very woke. It's the same with Catalonia or I think it's the Flanders in Belgium. There's something that all independentist or nationalist regions, that they have their own culture, their own language, which I support, the culture and the language, of course, but they have somehow linked the idea of the self-determination for the peoples, or people, but meaning that the Basque people, the Catalan people, but they have linked that idea of self-determination for the people with the self-determination of the body. So that's why Scotland is also very, very, very woke. So this bill doesn't look good for what I've seen, because they have changed the former transsexual term they had to trans, and they do recognize gender identity. Aside from this, which is official, everything that I said is happening at official level. So it's something that is going to affect women and in their usual lives, in their daily lives, because they are going to pass new laws in different regions. We have been very entertained because we have had this gentleman, as Isabel Garcia was told before. You're looking at a legal woman in Spain. This man is called Francisco Javier, which is Francis in English, and he hasn't changed his name. Had he changed his name, he would be the equivalent to Frances, so with an E instead of an I in the English name. But here he is Francisco Javier. He presents as you're watching him, and he claims to be discriminated as a woman because he's not allowed the army. He's a soldier. Sorry, I haven't said that. He's a soldier. The army has not allowed him to go into the women's locker rooms. So he's complaining. He's giving some press releases or press conferences. And he's like threatening he might sue. He might sue the army because he's being discriminated against because he's not being allowed into the women's locker room. I have read the declarations of one of his colleagues. He says that he has, in Spanish, the expression is, tiene una fuerza brutal. The translation would be that he is incredibly strong, but I don't know. But when someone says that he has a fuerza brutal, it's a sort of Superman. I mean, this guy, he's 2 meters high. He's 42 years old, has a 10-year-old daughter. He's, of course, he claims to be a lesbian because he likes women and he always had female partners. And in this piece, I haven't translated because it's not that important, but I read, and it was this news made it. Andrew Doyle in GB News mentioned this case, and I saw also a video, Sal Grover in Australia, I think it was a podcast, they also mentioned this case. So he made it, he has international fame in this moment. But the thing is, here at the bottom of the information, sorry, I forgot to translate this, I see now. He went to a TV dating show last year. Here you have. He was last year at a program called First Date, where it's a sort of a blind date. Contestants, they match, the program matches 2 people, and he was there looking for a woman, because they do have gay people there, and sometimes a woman is looking for a woman or a man is looking for a man. I don't follow this program. I have never seen watch this program, but the most outrageous clips usually have a life in social media. So he was there. He was looking for a woman. And it's very interesting because I found this news from last year where he it seems that he said that on television, that this is filmed because it's quoted. So he said that he was aroused by long hair and high heels, and he confessed that he started enjoying when he found a pair in his size, a pair of shoes in high heels, his size. He's working as a military, as a member of the military during the mornings, but in the afternoons, as you can see here, he says it's a military, but also he's a beautician. He works as a beautician, has a beauty parlor. And the article said that he works as a member of the military in the morning, and in the afternoon, he devotes himself to the world of aesthetics and facial treatments. They say that it all started when he was using a laser to remove tattoos and gradually discovered his passion. This is 2023. No one knew he was considering changing legally his sex. He did so after they approved the trans law, as you know that we have. So now we are in the situation where he is already a legal woman. No other change aside from that tiny letter that appears on every ID that says whether your sex is male or female. And that's the situation we are having. And I will let we are all guessing that he's a clear case of autogynephilia, but the word has not appeared anywhere in the information about him, but the signals, at least, they seem to be very, very clear. This is another legal woman in Spain, as you see him. But this is an activist in the manosphere. He's a YouTuber. He hates the previous Minister for Equality, the Secretary of State. They were very, very woke. And this claims to be doing this as a sort of complaint because, he thinks he's bold and all that. His new name is Vida, which means life. But that's the legal name he chose when he applied to being a legal woman. He's like this. He hasn't changed anything. But he went into a female sauna to create a video he uploaded to YouTube. He said that he left the sauna when he was told that there were an old woman, an 88 years old woman, and two little girls, a teenage girl, 15-year-old, and a 10-year-old. He said he left because he claims to be doing this as a sort of, as I said, complaint. The thing is that because there was turmoil and the police were called, when police arrived and he showed that his identity card shows that he's a woman, police asked him whether he wanted to file a discrimination complaint. He won't. So, I don't know. Well, this will go into YouTube, so I'm not saying anything further. Also in January, everything I'm telling you, the Francisco Javier, the Vida, and this one all happened in January while the trans activists were hounding Isabel Garcia. So if you want to be, I don't know, entertained, you come to Spain. Here we have news every day. This is some race in the mountains. There was this man who, his ID is male, his name is male, everything is sex, of course, is male, but I mean, his ID, everything. When he went to inscribe, to enroll in the race, he found out he had arrived late. I guess there are a certain amount of spots, and all male spots were already taken. No males could enroll in the race at that point. What did he do? He added an A to his name and enrolled himself instead of Kim as Kima. I think he put on some makeup and all that. So when the organizers were about to announce the winner, they announced the female winner, who is a 20 years old woman. And then he was, no, it was me. Because I enrolled as a woman. So, and there were some bad behavior. He was very they say, the news say that he was aggressive and all that. So in the end, they gave him the prize. The prize was a ham. He's here holding the ham. He did all that for a ham. So while I was preparing the slides, there was a very happy change. Oh, sorry, I haven't read for you this is the translation of the headline. This is an actual headline. You have here the URL, because I do snapshots of everything, because I really, sometimes I'm afraid you're not going to believe me. This is the headline. And he says, he's a gender fluid athlete because I feel like a man. He's a man socially, with his wife, his kids, with his friends, every time. But in the mountains, I feel like a woman. He's gender fluid only when racing against women. Good update. I found about this today. They have found a way of taking him out, but this is just a temporary victory, because they have read the rules and they said, this is the translation of the paragraph that the rules said, that anyone that considers themselves a transgender and want to participate in the other category, they must submit an affidavit that is going to be evaluated, and that should be done at least 6 weeks before the event. So when he registered at that time, because of the turmoil or that, they didn't know what to do, so they let him go away. But now they have corrected the record, and here you have Laia Montoya, 22 years old, first. This is the actual classification of the race. So Laia Montoya is now first. That man has gone back to his 55th place in the male category. But this is a news from today. At least I read that today. I think it was published yesterday or something like that. And meanwhile, on the feminist front, aside from reading all this news and being so entertained with everything that's going on, we did my group, WDI. I brought this here for you. We participated in the consultation that Rem Al Salem opened about prostitution, because we thought that it was very important to talk about the importance of sex-segregated statistics to talk about prostitution and sexual exploitation of women. So we submitted a short paper with that had two axes. First, about statistics and information that are going to be distorted or rendered unusable if instead of sex we use gender. And the second axis was linking the defense of gender self-determination with the legislation and normalization of prostitution. So because it's the same people in both sides, the same people that are rooting for the regulation of prostitution are also the ones pushing for self-ID. So our conclusion is that if violence suffered by women is obscured or made invisible, and the violence committed by us is artificially increased by including crimes committed by men as our crimes, the false perception of equality based on distorted data can lead to a reduction in resources to combat the inequality between the sexes, which can only have a negative effect on women's rights. What happens when women have fewer rights and protections? That the conditions become even more precarious, and their increased vulnerability makes them easier prey to the prostitution system, which includes pornography and reproductive prostitution, as Sheila calls surrogacy. It is a circuit that feeds back on itself, and we must break it. So we told the rapporteur, the special rapporteur, Remal Salem, that we must defend the sex-based definition of women, Article 1 of CEDAW, in order to also defend reliable data with which to have clear statistics on the situation of women and girls in our society, so that we can promote policies that aim to achieve real and effective equality between the sexes. We have also good news, because there's a TV presenter that is very outspoken. She knows what's going on. She knows about the dangers of self-ID for women in sports, in prisons, everywhere. And she's also a radical feminist because she's an abolitionist of prostitution, surrogacy, porn. And this is a tweet she tweeted yesterday. Everyone was very supportive. Of course, she gets trouble. She's sometimes harassed by trans activists, but we feminists are very supportive of her. So she is the one breaking the silence wall in Spanish TV right now, and we hope that she will remain speaking her mind, and that other feminist women and maybe some allies will be brave enough, as she is, to also speak their minds. So this is good news in Spanish television. More good news is in a couple of weeks. We're going to have the second international conference of the FENCO, which is the feminist organization, the feminist educators for co-education. And they will organize their second international conference. The first one was online. That was November 2021. It's going to happen in 2 weeks' time, 17 and 18 February, and it's full. It's fully booked. They opened the admissions and it's fully booked, and no one else can register because they really sold out. Well, so there's a lot of interest in this, and all talks and lectures are going to be very interesting. They really are working very hard, and they are very brave as well. And they are doing a very, very good work on talking about the dangers of transgenderism and queer policies in the schools. Also, I'm finished. This is my last slide. There's a new feminist party, and they have announced that they will run for the European elections that are going to happen this year, because we are politically homeless in Spain. The feminists, we don't have anyone else to vote. Let's hope that they make it and we get some representation in Europe, so we can fight for feminist policies. And that's all we have so far from the feminist front. I guess I will come back in some months' time to let you know how it goes. Okay, that's it.